Good day, Helldivers. My name is DPG, and today we have received the final parts of our 60-day commitment. Now, I'll primarily be talking about the patch notes. However, in addition, as we talk about the changes to primaries and support weapons, I'll re-rank them into my tier list format, in which I believe these weapons now reside in. Links to those two tier list videos will be at the end of this video. Alright, so what does this patch contain? We have balancing, we have general changes, and additional supply items are now visible on the mini-map, exosuits, and support stratagems. Okay, so first noted here in the patch we have removed ricochets from orbital stratagem projectiles, Eagle Tech 1 bombs, and FAF Tech 1-4 spear missiles. So in other words, your Bile Titans will no longer deflect your rail cannon strike like he's Neo, from the Matrix. Alright, so Helldiver armor tweaks. Both heavy and light armor are now more effective. Heavy armor reduces damage taken by 25%. That is up from 20%. Now, on the other hand, light armor increases damage taken by 25%, is down from 33%. So you used to take more damage when wearing light armor. Now you're taking 8% less damage. Great change here, because one major complaint in the community that I know of was the complaint about the damage to limb health. People are feeling the need to wear servo assisted more for that 50% increase to their limb health. But now with the reduction in damage taken with light armor, it shouldn't feel as bad when going up against your hordes of, say, your hunters or your warriors. Enemies that can take you down really quickly if they just get a good swipe at you. And so stratagem and weapon description tag updates. Now they will show you more information, and they're also categorized as the following. Armor penetration 2 is classified as light armor penetrating. Armor penetration 3 is classified as medium armor pen. Armor pen 4 is classified as heavy armor pen, and armor pen 5 plus is classified as anti-tank. Very nice change here, especially for our newer Helldivers, just getting used to what stratagems are used for which scenarios. Okay, moving on to primary weapons, plasma projectile behavior. We've standardized the behavior of plasma projectiles, which previously had varying characteristics, and how they travel through the air. Now all plasma projectiles experience high drag, causing them to slow down faster. However, each plasma weapon still fires projectiles at different speeds and calibers, so their effective ranges will remain distinct. For most weapons, this change won't be very noticeable. With the SG Tech 8 Punisher Plasma, you'll see a less pronounced arc in its projectile path. Instead, it will start off faster and lose speed more rapidly, keeping its effective range about the same. Okay, so the PLAS Tech 101 Purifier. Alright, so this primary weapon surprised me instantly. I'll put all the numbers of the changes on screen. What you need to know is that you can now fire the Purifier as fast as you can pull the trigger, making the close quarter engagements actually manageable. This was my biggest complaint in addition to the hit registration. Those two factors are no longer an issue, and with the changes, you can now mollywop light to medium armored enemies with ease. Now, in the background gameplay, the main gameplay, I'm using the Purifier, but I just wanted to highlight how good this weapon was in its own clip after this update. As far as my tier list goes, once in our Hellpod footlocker, now
so good and tasty.
Chef's kiss. Alright, so next up is the Plas Tech 1 Scorcher. The new weapon function is its auto fire mode. Fire rate was increased from 250 to 350, and its magazine capacity increased from 15 to 20. Nice welcome change, but I do not like the change to the spare magazine that decreased from 6 to 5. Still a very solid weapon, but I do feel like I need to bring a resupply pack at times, as the ammo capacity is still very low. As far as my placement goes for my tier list, this is going to remain in the Utility King / Queen. Alright, the SG Tech 8P Punisher Plasma had its recoil reduced and its fire rate increased from 80 to 100. Most notable thing is how the changes to projectiles work now. You'll notice that the shots when fired are very quick with the Punisher Plasma, so you have to get used to, how to angle your shots again with this thing. But it's still a very solid weapon. I want to say close to the Chef's Kiss tier, but not entirely quite yet. As far as I'm concerned, this is a very high Utility King / Queen weapon. Moving on, we have the AR Tech 2-3 Liberator. Its horizontal recoil was reduced by 30%. Very welcome change for the early Helldiver. The AR Tech 2-3P Liberator Penetrator had its horizontal recoil reduced by 30%, increased magazine capacity from 30 to 45. However, spare magazines decreased from 10 to 7. Now this is what actually had me place the Liberator Penetrator in the utility king / queen, was having the additional mags, which would allow you to skip a resupply, just having that additional ammo. Now that that's no longer the case, I'm actually taking the Lib Pen from utility king, and we're going to place that over into They Work tier. Alright, so the AR Tech 23A Liberator Carbine had its horizontal recoil reduced by 30%, its ergonomics were increased from 65 to 70, its reload duration was decreased from 3 to 2.5. All across the board, very good changes to this weapon. However, I don't think it's going to change from the chaff clear with decent ammo tier for my tier list, as it does not penetrate medium armor, but it is a very solid choice when going up against the chaff. Next on our list, we have the BR Tech 14 Adjudicator. It had its horizontal recoil reduced by 30%. Its projectile damage increased from 80 to 90, so we're only 5 off now from being the top damage dealer, which is the tenderizer for the assault rifles. But this weapon, however, has that medium pen, so its projectile durable damage was increased from 16 to 23, and its magazine capacity was increased from 25 to 30. So in my opinion, the BR Tech 14 Adjudicator feels great. It has the additional punch now with the updates. So we're going to move the Adjudicator from They Work over to Utility King / Queen on the tier list. Alright, next up is the AR Tech 61 Tenderizer. The new weapon functions for this weapon are now the RPMs of 600 and 850. Nothing too much to change on the tier list wise. I will say this is a welcome change, however, for the Tenderizer. The JAR Tech 5 Dominator was moved from explosive weapon category over to the special weapon category. Makes sense, as this weapon does not open the blast doors or explode yourself while shooting at a close range. Very solid weapon still. It's not going to change from its chef's kiss. The only thing that changed was the text. Alright, moving on, we're going to talk about sidearms as well as throwables. Just note that I haven't made a tier list for any of these, so now with the update, I'll probably be putting out that video soon as well. So let's talk about it. We have the P-Tech 113 Verdict. Its armor penetration was increased from 2 to 3. Its projectile durable damage was increased from 13 to 32. That is a big jump, guys. Stagger strength was increased from 13 to 15. And the Verdict was always a fun sidearm to shoot. My only complaint was that it wasn't medium armor pen, which I thought it should have been, because it resembles a Desert Eagle, which is a heavier caliber weapon. Alright, up next is the P-Tech 4 Senator. Its armor pen was increased from 3 to 4. Its projectile damage was increased from 175 to 200. Its projectile durable damage was increased from 35 to 70. Another huge jump for sidearms. Should feel great. Senator was always a go-to for me, just because of the medium pen capability and its reload speed that was changed recently as well. You got a fast reload on the empty cylinder. Very solid sidearm. The P-Tech 11 Stim Pistol had its spread decreased from 30 to 5, and its muzzle velocity increased from 80 to 200. Very, very welcome change, as you die very quick in this game, and having that decreased spread will mean that you'll hit your teammates easier with the stims, as well as quicker with the increase to its velocity. Okay, so moving on to throwables, we have the K-Tech 2 Throwing Knives. Increased its uses from 8 to 20. That is huge, guys. I love the throwing knives just for the fact that you can stun, but it was very niche, as you can only stun one enemy. Now you're going to have up to 20 opportunities to either kill an enemy with a last hit, or stun, say, like a bile spewer that's about to spew on you. I think that's pretty cool. We'll take a look at that. We'll probably make some kind of resupply pack shenanigans loadout for that. The GTAC 1-2 High Explosive Grenade had its damage increased from 400 to 800. That's double, guys. It's huge. It's very huge. Gonna have to start testing these older grenades. The GTAC 6 Frag Grenade had its damage increased from 250 to 500. And the GTAC 10 Incendiary Grenade had its damage increased from 150 to 300. So we'll see how that initial damage with the explosion goes for the incendiary grenade. Alright, moving on, we have our stratagem support weapons, the AC Tech 8 autocannon. Now, this was always a go-to for me for both the bug and bot fronts, with the changes to the damage to the autocannon. As you can see in the main gameplay, that is what I am using. However, in this clip that I will be showing next, you'll just see how the flak works with the programmable ammunition. So it lets you switch between normal and flak projectiles. Flak projectiles are proximity triggered shrapnel explosions with a larger explosion radius, so perfect for your shriekers as well as your gunship patrols. No changes to the tier list here. Of course, with the changes made, it just makes it even better. Chef's kiss.
So good and tasty.
For the autocannon. Alright, next up was a change that I was most excited about for this update, which is the GR Tech 8 recoilless rifle. Like the autocannon, it has the function of the programmable ammunition, allowing you to switch between normal projectiles and high explosive rounds. Now, high explosive rounds have a larger explosion radius, they deal more explosion damage, but they have less projectile damage and are less effective against tanks. You'll be able to see this by the icon. The one that's anti-tank will have an actual tank as the icon, and the one that's high explosive will just say the HE. That'll be for your massive groups of chaff. Fantastic change here. This is going to move the recoilless rifle in my tier list over from over to the
so good and tasty.
Chef's kiss. The RL Tech 77 Airburst rocket launcher had its reload duration reduced from 7 to 5 seconds. It's a good change. However, my biggest complaint is the detection on which it explodes. For me, this is going to stay in the dusty tier as far as my tier list goes. The MTech 105 LMG Stalwart had its ergonomics increased from 25 to 40. This should feel like you're wearing peak physique, except you're not wearing peak physique. You just have the ergonomics of this weapon being pretty fantastic. My complaint of it is still that it is not medium armor penetrating, and I wish that it was added to the primary slots, as Helldivers 1 had the Stalwart in the primary slot. Kind of makes sense to me because the magazines isn't very many. I think it's 3 for the Stalwart, so it would kind of make up for the lack of magazines by having the larger mag, in my opinion. Pretty sure this move would be welcomed by many members of the community. For now, the Stalwart's going to remain in the dusty tier. The MG Tech 43 machine gun, the magazine capacity was increased from 150 to 175. Welcome change, a little bit more ammo in there. The starting spare mags was increased from 1 to 2. As a veteran diver, you're not going to realize the change, as your ship modules are probably fully upgraded by now, so you'll start with your max mags anyway. The MG Tech 206 heavy machine gun had its magazine capacity increased from 75 to 100. Now this is a more noticeable change in my opinion, because you'll typically put the HMG on a slower fire rate, so this is going to give you a little bit more ammo to take down your hulks, as you're usually using this on the bot front. Moving on to our backpacks, again another category to which I'll probably make a tier list video and we'll talk about a little bit more in depth. Then we have the Lift Tech 850 jump pack. Now you have probably seen it in some of the gameplay and clips I've been showing. It had its cooldown reduced from 20 to 15 seconds and has a stronger thrust force. Thrust vector has been tweaked, will have a slightly higher jump and more forward momentum. I've definitely noticed the more forward momentum. Pretty nice backpack slot if you're trying to move around the map rather quickly. They're very, very good. I really like the jump pack changes. Next up we have the AX/AR Tech 23 Guard Dog. Switch from the AR Tech 23 Liberator rounds over to the AR Tech 23P Liberator Penetrator rounds. The armor penetration was increased from 2 to 3. Its damage was decreased from 70 to 60. Don't really see the need to change that. I appreciate the armor pen though. And the magazine capacity increased from 30 to 45. So a little bit more ammo for the Guard Dog. Probably still not going to use it as much, but I'll show you some gameplay of what this looks like, of how you can change the backpack modes with the Guard Dogs. Alright, so with the drone backpacks, they have a new toggle function. So when you activate it, the drone leaves the backpack and starts to perform its tasks. and then when you deactivate it, you just hit the same button again, and the drone returns to the backpack slots in a passive state. So whatever button you have to open up your inventory for like backpacks or dropping your samples is the button that's going to activate the return as well as the activate function. Alright, moving on to stratagems, we have Eagle Strafing Run. Explosion radius was slightly increased. Its explosion damage was increased from 250 to 350. For the Orbital Airburst Strike, this is the Sky Shotgun. The salvos were increased from 3 to 4. Its duration between salvos increased from 3 to 4 seconds. Still perfect for breaches. This is what I like to use on breaches often, and with the additional salvo, it just makes it a little bit better. The A/MG Tech 43 Machine Gun Sentry had its magazine capacity increased from 125 to 175, and its cooldown reduced from 120 to 90 seconds, and its lifetime reduced from 180 to 150 seconds. I see the balancing going on here. I do appreciate having a shorter cooldown, as this sentry in particular really doesn't do much damage, and I prefer the Gatling almost every time. Then talking about the Gatling, the A/G Tech 16 Gatling Sentry, its magazine capacity was increased from 400 to 500. Its cooldown again was reduced from 180 to 150, and its lifetime was reduced from 180 to 150. So a shorter cooldown, not as short as the Machine Gun Sentry. Granted, the Gatling does a little bit more damage, so we'll probably still be grabbing the Gatling Sentry when looking at chaff clear. The A/MLS Tech 4X Rocket Sentry, as well as the A/AC Tech 8 Autocannon Sentry, both had their cooldowns reduced from 180 to 150, and again their lifetime reduced from 180 to 150. Alright, moving on to the MD Tech 17 Anti-Tank Mines. It says here that they are working on changes to the anti-personnel and incendiary mines. However, they are not happy with the fixes as they introduce too many new problems. They'll continue working on these changes and include them in a future patch. Look forward to that. The mines are now only triggered by heavier enemies like Chargers, Biotitans, Impalers, and Hulks. Its damage was increased from 800 to 2000, so good change for the anti-tank mines. The A/ARC Tech 3 Tesla Tower. Now it has a reduced charge up shots. Its cooldown from 3 to 1 second. And its overall cooldown of the stratagem itself was reduced from 150 to 120. It's great. Lifetime reduced from 180 to 150. Alright, the FX Tech 12 Shield Generator Relay. Remove charge delay between damage taken. Increased charge rate from 300 to 400 health. Then radius increased from 8 to 15 meters, so it should be a bigger bubble. Once the shield is down, it will no longer regenerate. We'll have to see how those changes work. I haven't got down there and tried those changes out. But I do enjoy the shield relay because you're able to use it pretty, if you finesse it enough, right? You can use it against Bile Titans. If they spew on the shield generator relay, they'll typically take themselves out as well. Guys, that's going to do it for the video. A little bit longer than usual, but there was definitely plenty of good changes to talk about. I'll leave the full patch notes in the description if you want to take a look at gameplay changes to enemy types. Guys, let me know what you think about the final patch for the 60-day commitment. I think it was pretty damn good, and I never thought I'd say I enjoy using the Purifier. Don't forget to hit that liberty-inducing like button, as all the democratic content does take some time to compile, as well as to spread this video to fellow Helldivers. Consider subscribing to stay up to date with my future content, and if you are interested in my primary and support weapon tier lists, you can check out my unique format of ranking. With all that said, I hope you have an amazing day. See you in the next one, and take care, everybody.